All right, everybody. Welcome to the Contextual Christian Church Bible Study, where today we're going to read Isaiah chapter 24, verse 17 to chapter 25, verse 7. I'm going to pray it in. Everybody, bow your heads. Father, thank you for getting us on this Bible study today so we can finish out Isaiah 24 and get back to the context of what we needed to get to with that with no more interruptions. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. So last time, actually, I can't even say last time. I got to say the time before it because last time we had the interruptions of the truck breaking down. So the time before last time, we had started chapter 24. And what we had gotten into in chapter 24 of Isaiah was God making a comparison, as we talked about, with the city of the islands and with the burden from Tyre or Tyrus, which is the same place, just at different times in history, same place. So we had where their destruction is being depicted back in 23. And we had some comparison, some connection to the time of Christ. Now, when we got into 24, which it makes sense why the ones who added the chapters and verses, why they added chapter 24 separate. We saw this in another chapter before. In 24, we take the depictions of everything that's happening to Tyrus and they compared it to what would happen at the end of the world when all the destruction is taking place. There was a couple parts where it said the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants because they have transgressed the laws and broken the everlasting covenant. We had where it talked about all the priests, all the servants, how everybody's going to get it. And not just the people, but everybody, including the land itself. Then we started going into about, therefore, had the curse devoured the earth. So we're talking about the complete earth being destroyed, as it said in verse 6 that the earth is burned and only a few men left. Now we know when we read in Revelations about the destruction of the earth that it's all, when that time happens at the end of everything, cast into the lake of fire along with death and hell. That the old earth is burned away and there's a new heaven and new earth made. But then we got into verse 20, verse 7. Wait, yeah. Then we got into verse 7 where we got even more confirmation from it about the new wine, which is also referenced in the New Testament as being under the New Testament, not the old law, and how the vine languished, which Jesus compared the vine being the one true vine of the people of God and being either grafted in or about the branches that are broken off from the people that are unfaithful. And so we pointed out about like there's gonna be no joy, nothing but negativity going on. And the last parts that we were hearing in verse 13, it brought up again the same reference that we had before of those that are going to be saved. It brought up the shaking of the olive tree, which was brought up as a reference to show that everyone who was in the tree, or in other words, those that were of the children of Israel, there's only a few left. That just like if you shake an olive tree, all the olives fall out. And then pointed out of the gleaning of as the gleaning grapes, which represented the people that were actually saved, that were ready to be harvested. And pointed out that they're going to lift up their voice, even in the midst of this destruction, to glorify God. And that throughout the entire world, that these songs will have been heard, meaning that everybody will understand this story. And they're going to understand, even as the writer here said, my leanness, woe unto me. And we've seen that before in reference, showing that you have no sustenance. There's no fat on your bones. There's no filledness. All you have left is skin and bones. That's what leanness has been used to represent many times. And then about the treachery. So we saw these references towards the end times that were coming in that were using the destruction and the burden of Tyre or Tyrus, same thing, and using it to compare to the end of the world. And so now we're going to continue from there, as today we will be getting into verse 17 of chapter 24. And I'll switch it to our first section so our first reader can read. And go ahead, Charles, when you're ready.
All right. I'll read Isaiah chapter 24, verses 17 to 21. Give it a couple seconds. Verse 17. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon thee, O inhabitant of the earth. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit. And he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall let me try it again. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it. And it shall fall and not rise again. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. Before I start the two sections, I know I said a different number last time, but I'm doing two sections.
Cheater.
Yeah. Even though we already talked about the technicalities, it could have, technically, the other number wasn't completely off.
It wasn't completely.
No. Technically I could, but really it's just two. Two
No, I know
sections.
because the fact that we had.
Oh, let me double check my connection, guys. I'm on the Wi-Fi.
No, Matt's cutting out.
Oh, can you hear me?
Now I can. You were cutting
How
in and
about
out.
now?
Now it's good. Now it's good.
Okay. So I knew you guys were going to use the knowledge from when we went through this last time because it's not like we didn't get somewhat into it. So I'm not hating on it. I just had to make a joke.
Like, no, yeah. I got it. I know. And also I need to remember that this is different from the last section we got into from that last study.
Exactly.
Yeah. So first section, 17 to 20. I'm just gonna say the funny thing I said before. Now we're getting into the end of time. We're getting into the end of Earth. This is the end. Everyone's going. Everyone's running around screaming in fear. Everyone's getting dragged into the pit. The pit being hell. Let me say that. The pit being hell. So this is everyone going into hell. And anybody that thinks they can climb out, you're going to get trapped in a trap. Basically, there's no escape for anybody. It doesn't matter what you do. Now I need to bring up what I got wrong before. In this particular time, while hell is opened up, people are getting trapped, no escape. There's no escape for them, and Earth basically being devoured and being destroyed. Heaven is opened up as well.
Good. We need to specify what part is saying that. People listening don't know what we went through last time.
Sorry. At the end of 18, for the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. That's me. That's what I missed on the last one. Heaven is opened up while all this is going down.
Good.
Oh, and yeah, let me also. Well, no, yeah, I'm gonna just add it about the earth being earth. Oh, that's what I gotta remember because you brought this up, and this is something I didn't know. What we got into here and what I just read, it also debunks religions that believe that in the last of days in this judgment time period, they're building themselves up so that way when we get to that last point, that they're going to claim the earth. They're going to claim what's left. They're going to claim this. They're going to claim that. But here we have everybody going to the pit that the ones that wasn't following God the way they're supposed to, and earth is getting destroyed. There is nothing to have in the last of days. You're not going to reclaim what's left of earth if there's no earth left. Earth is destroyed. So it debunks those other religions that believe in that.
For example, Jehovah's Witness.
Thank you. I forgot which one.
Yeah. For example, Jehovah's Witness believe, and that's part of why they don't have a problem with building riches. But it's not that building riches is a problem, but their excuse for it. So you could build riches as a Christian. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you use the money wisely, use the money in a godly way. But for them, part of the reason that their excuse is that they could or should is because they're going to inherit this earth that is here. They take verses out of context, like the meek shall inherit the earth. Stuff like that to say, like, oh, yeah, well, we're still going to have the same earth. Even though here in this prophecy of the end times, the earth is literally being broken apart and destroyed. And then in Revelation, it says that it's going to be burned away. Like, how do you debate this? It's in both testaments,
Right.
old and new. But go ahead.
And the other one, I'm gonna need your help on this one. With I remember what to bring up, but it was a verse that I need to bring up with this. In verse 21, the second section, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high.
Hold on.
But,
you forgot to bring up one part in 20.
Let me reread 20.
Actually, you forgot to explain it a little bit because that's using the visualization, explaining the visualization is part of what confirms the point. If you don't explain that, then how do we know that it means that it's fully being broken up? The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. You didn't explain that in 19. You just said that the earth is being destroyed, but you didn't explain how it proves that in the verses.
So let me go back. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. So, in other words, and let me add verse 20 to that as well, because it's also given like a visualization example that we can go off of. The
Yep.
earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. Now, what did I had I thought of an example when I was actually drunk years ago and how I was all over the place. Um, I was staggering, I'm drooling from the mouth, I'm moving side to side, looking for my car that I lost after clubbing. Picture the earth looking staggered like a drunk person looking for a car that he lost. Matter of fact, picture somebody drunk on the strip and imagine, just watch him break down as he's so drunk, he's so beyond it, as he's moving side to side, as he's doing what he's doing in his drunken state. You can really watch him be broken down because he's so far drunken, he's so far gone that all he can do is either move side to side, fall to the ground, break himself down. That's all he can do in that drunken state. Now imagine the globe, imagine earth being broken down. Imagine Earth moving side to side in all this destruction that's going on.
Good.
That's one way I could bring it up. And it also added with that, and shall be removed like a cottage. Now, a cottage, a dwelling place, a place to stay. In those times, they're breaking it down piece by piece. We have bulldozers and stuff nowadays, but back then, you're breaking it down piece by piece. Just imagine the earth piece by piece, I should have brought this up the other day, like Lego pieces. Take
Yeah.
that Lego piece out. Take that Lego piece out. Take pieces are being broken down piece by piece. A child that builds something like a Lego figure, and just for you to come in and kick it on accident.
And
That's
once
what
it's
we got
actually
going.
taken away, there's nothing left.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. Same thing with the earth is clean dissolved. What does it look like when a piece of plastic is dissolved in acid? It doesn't exist.
No more
So
particles.
even then, yeah, exactly. So no, so clean dissolved, and then having the example of the cottage, we're literally, there's no way to argue this. We're talking about the complete destruction of Earth to the point of non-existence. And then in case it was a question, even though it's not, we know the answer by now, but in case it was a question, the last part, you need to explain that and how that connects to other verses of verse 20.
The last part of, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the only thing I could bring up in that is how I just broke down how Earth is just going to be broken down. We just talked about it being dissolved, no more particles left. It won't come again. So you can't build another Earth. You can't have, there won't be another Earth after all of
Well,
this.
not in another Earth, the same Earth.
There won't be the same Earth.
I mean, you
Matter of
could build
fact,
a different
what
Earth. If it's a different country, a different building, a different thing, like, but that same one won't be up.
Yeah, so the same Earth that people claim that they could have, that won't be it's no longer basically.
Exactly. Now go ahead and explain the part from 21.
Okay, yeah, 21. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high. Now, this is the one you had to I think you brought up Second Peter chapter 2,
Yep, verse
where it
4.
talked verse 4, that's the verse. Okay. Where in that verse, I guess my Bible app don't work. Huh, that's interesting. Let me read Second Peter chapter 2, verse 4. For God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to
For
hell.
if,
For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment was what I was forgetting.
yep,
So the angels that have sinned have already been cast down in hell, but it says right here to be reserved for judgment. Now, if I'm reserving something, I'm holding something until the time. I
exactly.
reserved this video game. I'm paying for it to be it's being on hold until the time period when it needs to be released. I can go pick it up. Same with the angels. They're being reserved until the end times. They're held there until the last of day, until judgment. So that's what we're getting into with, if my app would work, that's what we're getting into with verse 21, the host of the high ones. Well, and you brought this up. Who are the host of the high ones? I was thinking of the kings. I didn't even consider the angels, the
Yeah,
ones
the
that
high
led the
ones that are on
angels.
high would be the angels,
The
but who are
angels.
the host of them? Then what is this discussing? I brought it up yesterday. I mean, I brought it up on 2 days ago. It's a very important part.
This I might be forgetting that part.
Yeah. All right, Thomas, give you the chance. How you got a cheat sheet and still fail, Charles?
Um, so we're talking about the devil, the false religions, the kings of the earth.
You were good until you said the kings of the earth and the devil part. The host of the high ones. Is that the devil? And the kings of the earth, isn't that the kings of the earth part?
Yeah, true.
So you were good except for those two. Those two were wrong. I mean, technically, the devil will be punished at that time, but that's not who the host of the high ones are. So, yeah, the high ones, the host of the high ones, these other false religions, where did their power come from? Well, God imbued angels with abilities. We know this. We've seen this. All these false religions that have supposed deities, they're just fallen angels. This partly confirms that. They're the high ones that are on high. They're, they're the ones. So then the host of them is all the people that are involved in that. Because a host is not, it is singular, but it's not specific to a person. It can be singular as a church, it can be singular as an army, it can be singular as a group. So, though it's a singular group, obviously, if it's a group, there are multiple individuals. So, all the people of the high ones that are on high, all these religions and false believers and people that believe in these false religions. Both the angels that are the originators of it and the people that follow it. And then we have the kings of the earth upon the earth. So all the kings of the earth that are actually upon it. Now, what does that mean, Charles, then, of who's all being punished in this point in verse 21?
You're gonna laugh.
Hmm.
I wrote that down too. Had I looked down, because I looked up when I was thinking about it. Had I looked down, I would have noticed I wrote down what you just said. You know what else? I also wrote this down. Basically, it's punishment of false authorities.
Yep. Punishment of all the false authorities, all the kings of the earth, all the false religions and their deities
Yeah.
and the people that follow. Punishment of the false authorities. Good.
Oh.
All right. See, Charles, how do you fail with a cheat sheet? You know what?
By not
This is
looking at
why
it.
this is Charles, this is why you fail tests sometimes in high school. You have the information, you don't look at it. Oh, funny as heck.
Oh.
Reminds me of how people used to say, well, some people are just bad at testing. No, you're bad at studying. Let's be real. It's a focus issue. It's not a test issue. Anxiety. All right, let's go to the second section. Does anybody have any comments about the first section as we go to the second section? Now would be the time to raise your hands. All right, then Thomas, go ahead with the second section.
I'll be reading Isaiah 24, verse 22 through 25, verse 3. Give it a couple seconds. And they shall be gathered together, as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison. And after many days shall they be visited. Then the moon shall be confounded, and the sun ashamed, when the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, and before his ancients gloriously. O Lord, thou art my God. I will exalt thee. I will praise thy name, for thou hast done wonderful things. Thou counsel of old are faithfulness and truth. For thou hast made of a city an heap, of a defenced city a ruin, a palace of strangers to be no city. It shall never be built. Therefore shall the strong people glorify thee. The city of the terrible nation shall fear thee. All right. Hold on one second. Let me get the sections here.
Mhm.
So,
You said what?
so um, I would say it's three sections.
All right. What are the three sections?
22 being one of his own, as well as 23, and then 1 through 3.
Good. Now for the
Yeah.
second question.
No, it doesn't relate to the. Hold on. Before I answer.
I was about to say.
Oh, it relates. 22's connection with previous verses.
And actually, I got to switch up something on you guys. I know I told you guys from the get-go to have the sections first before you say if it connects to the last, but I'm now thinking about that was the wrong order to say it. The first thing you should see is if it connects to the last. Then tell me how many sections. Because I've been thinking about it and like, how are you supposed to know how many sections if you don't even know if the first is connected to the last section? So switch that up, that order. The first thing you'll do from now on is tell me if the first verse of your section connects to the last section.
Got
All
it.
right.
Yep.
All right. And good, Thomas, that was accurate. Go ahead with your explanation then.
All right, 22. Let me read it one more time. And they should be gathered together, as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and should be shut up in the prison. And after many days shall they be visited. So, 22, we have those false authorities we were talking about being put away into Judgment Day, and to long story short, to God's ready to deal with them how He said He will through all the prophecies. And then 23, hold on one second. Let me read that one more time. Then the moon shall be confounded, and the sun ashamed, when the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, and before his ancient gloriously. So when I think of the moon and the sun, I'm thinking of light. So here, the sun and the moon pretty much have no comparison to God's presence, his light. And that's why it's saying they should be ashamed,
Yep.
confounded, same difference.
You know what confounded means?
Same difference as ashamed. Like,
Nope.
hold on. I went to the Strongs and it said ashamed in there. But
No, ashamed is part of it, but you're ashamed for a very specific reason. Confounded is confused.
okay.
I told you the story about the princess and the frog, and you were confounded. In that sentence, would it make sense to say ashamed?
No.
See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to the Strong's Concordance for that, let's get to the dictionary part. Oh, I didn't know there was a new version available. I'll have to update it. All right. Isaiah 25 1. Oh, no, it's 24 at the end. All right. Confounded. I see where your problem was. You didn't read the Strong's definition. You read the BDB.
Yeah.
You know how I know that?
How?
Read the first parts of the Strong's definition till you read the word ashamed.
A primitive root to blush, figuratively to be ashamed.
That's not what it says in the Strong's definition.
Hold on.
Confounded. H2659.
It's- It says a primitive root, perhaps rather than the same as H2658. Should I go there?
No, remember you're supposed to do that after you've read through it if you need more details.
Right.
It's just saying it's the primitive root of the word is the same as that.
Okay, so through the idea of detection to blush.
There. Keep going.
I said that previously. To
No, you
blush.
didn't. You said ashamed. You never said detection. You never brought up the blush.
Oh, I skipped everything that was in the parentheses. That's why I didn't say, must have sounded like I was reading from elsewhere.
Well,
To
that's part of the
blush.
problem. Remember what I told you the parentheses is for? When you're reading everything, the part of the parentheses is to give more of a idea of what's said outside the parentheses. So it said perhaps rather the same as that word through the idea of detection. And then it goes in to say to blush. So you're blushing But then you got to take that parentheses into account. You're blushing through the idea of detecting something. So you realize something and it makes you blush because you realized it. Now keep
Okay.
going.
Blush, figuratively to be ashamed, disappointed, uh, causatively to shame, reproach, be ashamed, be confounded, be brought to confusion, unto shame, come, be put to shame, bring reproach. I see.
So you see, if you would have read the Strong's Concordance definition from it, you wouldn't have had an inaccurate statement because it brings up the confusion causing the shame. You're ashamed because it confused you. A good example like of this in today's day and age would be if you were dating a woman and you never realized she's not into men, and then you caught her in bed with another woman. You're not just ashamed because you're betrayed, you're also ashamed because you didn't realize that she was into women. That is being confounded.
Okay.
So it's shame that's caused by being confused or realizing something. All right, but go ahead.
So you said inaccurate statement just in regards to confounding, right?
You said what?
So you said inaccurate statement, and that's just in regards to confounded, correct? Because everything else was accurate regarding to the verse.
As far, yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's like everything else was accurate about that except for the confounded because that is the part you got wrong. You were right about because it said about the sun being ashamed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you brought up about God's presence, that it's so bright. Now, explain the moon and the sun part as a visualization, just to make sure we have an accurate understanding.
Okay, so obviously the sun shines during the day and the moon shines at night. God, when he went up into Mount Zion, his light was so bright, it shined brighter than the sun and the moon could ever. There's no comparison.
Good for the sun part, not for the moon part. Because remember, it's a confusion thing that's causing the shame for the moon. So
Oh,
how
I see
would
what
there
you're saying.
be how would there be confusion?
Right. So how everything works, we have a nighttime. So there being no nighttime because how bright God was shining, it would seem like it was daytime. But you see the moon now, like, okay, so what's really going on here? Oh, but
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. That's definitely one way to look at it. So there's two ways that you could see this. One, the moon is confused because God's with them 24/7, so there is no nighttime. What the frick is going on here? It's nighttime. I have my light, but it should be a little dark. That's crazy. Second option that it could look towards is because the moon is used to the brightness of the sun and shining through, but the brightness of God is brighter than the sun. Ergo, the moon is confused by the fact that is this the sun or something else? Thought we only had one sun here. So it's using that visualization of confusion of the moon to explain the brightness of God, whether by saying he's bright at all times or because his brightness is greater than the sun's brightness, it's confused on what happened. Giving a, what's the word? Um, Not personalizing, humanizing the moon with a personality trait to express that. Does that make sense?
Yep. I see that.
Personifying, that's the word. There you go. Personifying the moon. All right,
All right. Going into the final
let's go ahead
section.
and continue.
So 1 through 3. Hold on 1 second. long story short, it's pretty much you got Isaiah here praising God for his judgment, for all the things that um he speaks upon and does. God is like, yo, Isaiah's like, yo, he's exalting God because of it.
Exactly. Well, we don't know yet. Does
Possibility.
25 sound verse 1 sound like it's connected to 24 verse 23?
Let me read it one more time. Oh Lord, thou art my God. I will exalt thee. I will praise thy name, for thou hast done wonderful things. Thy counsel of old are faithfulness and truth. Yeah, it sounds different.
It
Like
sounds
it.
like it's starting something new, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't sound like it's continuing on the brightness of God being greater than the moon or the sun or stars or anything. Sounds like a whole new thing. Now, is it possible it's connected?
Yeah, and the reason why I said possibly, well, I'm saying possible now because verse 2, where it goes to say, for thou hast made a city an heap, and a defense
Hmm.
city a ruin, and a palace of strangers to be no city. It shall never be built. So here we have that never being built again, and everything being ruined, and the people in it and everything.
Exactly. Now, here's where the problem it might run into, and we might see it be different. It said made a city a heap. Why not point out the earth since we've already been reading about the earth being destroyed? And it literally used the word earth. Why not use that again? Why
That's a
go
good
into a
question.
city of it? So it is possible it's talking about the same subject. Don't get me wrong. But the way it's phrased, it's just as possible. I'd say a 50-50 toss up at this point that we could be talking about another destruction in another time frame. Because remember, when Isaiah is writing these prophecies, we've gone back and forth on time frames, right? We haven't had a chronological time frame of prophecy. Sometimes we're prophesying on Christ, sometimes we're prophesying on the death or the end of everything, the end of the end times. Sometimes we've been prophesying on the destruction of Babylon, and it has not been in order chronological at all. It's been random. So, what city is said to be destroyed in Isaiah that we've read about already, specifically a city?
Oh boy. One second.
Hmm. Because there have been a few options.
I'm gonna take too much time. Go ahead.
All right, the cities of Babylon. You could pick any area of Babylon. It's an empire. But Babylon is said to never rise again. That's one example we've read about in Isaiah. That's why I said you could pick multiple. We also read about what was it? Not Tyrus. Wait, was it Tyrus? Let me go back.
Arabia.
Kedar. That's what it was. Kedar. That was another city we read recently, or that area where it was going to be taken out and not built back up. So there were multiple cities we've read about where they're not being able to be built back up after they've been torn down. So when we look at that and keep that in mind, we see how it's possible we might be getting into a prophecy of a specific city, maybe one we've already read about. But then keep in mind too, Sodom and Gomorrah were kind of their own cities, even if they were countries. The size of them alone would put them more towards a city than a country to us. So there's ways you can look at it where there's so many options it could mean. We can't say for sure that it's talking about the same thing. And as we saw from 23, it went to a whole new section from chapter 23 from 22. But then as we went into 24, it even brought up by word the city of the isles, but not till way in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So could be talking about the same, but we don't have enough information for either way. And we can't state something as fact unless we know for sure. All right. So outside of that, go ahead and finish your explanation for those three.
Verse 3, all the all the strong people, the people with some type of status, are now glorifying God.
Status is not the right word.
Okay.
Can you be of great status and not have strength?
Yes.
See what I'm saying? And even if we talk about a strength as towards authority, a governor is of a great status. What power does a governor really have? See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So they have some, but that's the point. So strength is what it's pointing out. Whether we're talking about strength in authority or we're talking about strength in body, we're talking about or strength of mind. That's what it shows.
So it's given like that overall.
Exactly. And when you say
Oh,
status, you specify it to something that is not exclusive to strong people. Weak people can be in positions of authority or status too. You could be filthy rich and have status and be a complete pushover. All right, go ahead and continue. Because you read it, but you didn't explain it.
therefore shall, let me read it one more time. Therefore shall the strong people glorify thee. The city of the terrible nation shall fear thee. Now we're seeing those strong people glorifying God, and also the nations that, hold on, the city of the terrible nations shall fear thee. So all the terrible nations, that everybody's fearing the Lord now, fearing God, because they know who's the one and true God now.
Exactly. Because of how he turned a city into a heap, a defended city, mind you. We're not even talking about a city that just exists. We're talking about one with a great defense. And he turned it into a heap that's never going to be built again. Good. Now, we'll go on to our final section. Does anybody have any comments or questions, though, about the second section? As we go to the final section, now would be the time to raise your hands. All right. Then go ahead, Charles, when you're ready.
All right. I'll be reading Isaiah chapter 25, verses 4 to 7. Verse 4. For thou hast been a strength to the poor, a strength to the needy in his distress, a refuge from the storm, a shadow from the heat, when the blast of the terrible ones is as a storm against the wall. Thou shalt bring down the noise of the stranger, or of strangers, as the heat in a dry place, even the heat with the shadow of a cloud. The branch of the terrible ones shall be brought low. And in this mountain shall the Lord of hosts make unto all people a feast of fat things, a feast of wines on the lees, of fat things full of marrow, of wines on the lees well refined. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. Give me a second.
Mm-hmm. In the meantime, I wanted to point out as a little statement, Thomas, What do you call it when Charles and I got together for Thanksgiving?
Say that one more time.
What do you call it when Charles and I got together for Thanksgiving?
Polar Express. I don't know why.
A feast of fat things.
I like the Polar Express better.
All right,
Oh,
Charles,
I'm
you
gonna
ready?
look at. Oh, let me come out notepad real
um,
quick.
Hmm?
he
What
said,
happened,
"Hold
Thomas?
on, let me grab my notepad."
I
Oh,
just
okay.
had it. I don't know what happened to it.
Did it fall under your feet?
Okay, go ahead, guys. I don't want to hold you up.
All right. Go
So
ahead, Charles.
my section, it's not really like a. It's not really I'm forcing it, but I'm not trying to force it. I'm overthinking it. 4 and 5, I got it separated from 3. I almost put them together, but I'm separating them. So separate section before I get into the sections.
No, I'd agree. I
I
mean,
almost put them together because
they're
terrible
technically could
ones
be
and
brought
terrible
together,
city.
but yeah.
That was the only, but that's the only thing that I was going to use to put them together. That's not good enough. Just because of
Exactly.
a word that no, I need other concrete things to make sure that to prove that they should be put together. That's not good enough. So no, they're separate.
But not only
Um,
that, here's where it technically could be.
yep.
A shadow from the heat when the blast of the terrible ones. Okay, so that's when the terrible ones are coming against the poor, right?
Hmm.
But then in 5, you'll bring down the noise of the strangers. So we're talking about completely different groups and different situations.
Hmm.
So even though it's still dealing with the terrible ones, we're talking about 2 separate groups. So that's why it could technically be together because of the terrible ones, but it's really not. Good. But remember I said before we go into sections from now on, first thing you got to say is it part of the last?
That's what I was saying in that it's not part of the last. That I'm sorry. That's what I was trying to say. That it's not part of the last.
Incorrect.
Okay.
What does it say in 3?
Therefore shall the strong people glorify thee. The city of the terrible nation shall fear thee.
Mm-hmm.
For thou
What
hast
does
been,
therefore mean? How is it
therefore
used?
is in it as in
Because
because
of what I
of what
just
I just
said,
said. Yeah, there you
I'm
go.
saying this. So what was it said in 2?
For thou hast made of a city an heap, of a defense city a ruin.
So you've made a city a ruin that will not be able to rise again. And because of that, the strong ones glorify you and the terrible nations are afraid of you because you were a strength to the poor. This would be the same as with 5. Though it's not fully connected, it is technically connected because we're continuing the point, but we're going into a very specific and different detail. Does that make sense?
Just using a different, though they're like you brought up, they're the same, but it's using different points to bring up how it's the same.
It's so much
And
of a standalone point that it is not connected. But if we go on technicality, it is because we're still talking about that city that's destroyed. And what we're really talking about is in what's in verse 3. The connecting part is verse 3, not verse 2. Verse 3 is about the strong glorifying God and about how the terrible nations are afraid of God. In verse 2, part of the reason that they're like that is because God destroyed a city to the point that it could never rise again. Another reason for that in verse 4 is because God has shown his strength to the poor and strong to the needy. He's been there for the ones in need. Do you see that? So they are
Yeah.
technically connected, even though they are separate. Because the main point is the same. The overall arching is the same, but we branched off into different positions. On 2, we're talking about God's ability to destroy. On 4, we're talking about God's ability to save and protect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, let me write this down too.
Mm-hmm.
Still writing it down.
I said, Thomas,
Yo,
did you hear what I said?
no, I didn't hear anything. All I heard was still writing down from Charles.
Oh, I said, do you understand as well how we got there?
Yes.
About the connection of 3.
Yeah.
All right, explain it to me real quick because it sounded like you missed some.
All right, let me go back to 3. So, hold on.
Thomas, why did you say yes if you didn't know?
I do know. Hold
Oh,
on.
you do?
I just want to use the context of 3 real quick.
Oh, okay.
So same thing as we've seen, like you're stating in 2 and 3, and then so seeing the same thing in 4 was showing God's ability to save and to protect. But back in 3, so it's in regards to everything being. Hold on, just go ahead,
Again,
bro.
I'll ask. Thomas, why did you say you know if you didn't know? How am I supposed to help you if you're not honest or if you're not fully focused on what you don't know? Why didn't you just say I'm not sure?
All right.
It's okay to be unsure. You don't have to know the answers. But if you're not being 100% forward front about something you don't or aren't sure about, then how can I help you?
Yeah.
All right. So the connecting verse is verse 3, not 2 or 4. In verse 3, we have the strong glorifying God and the terrible cities being afraid, or terrible nations being afraid, right? But at the beginning of 3, we have the word therefore, connecting it to verse 2. And what happens in verse 2, generically speaking? The destruction of a city to the point it could never rise again. And then what happens in 4? God's ability to protect the weak and needy from the terrible ones, protect and save them. So in verse 3, we have the strong ones glorifying God and the terrible nations being afraid of God, because in verse 2, God's ability to destroy, and verse 4, God's ability to protect and save the needy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So that's why, Charles, again, as I said, technically it is connected for the overall arching point, but because it's going into a completely different direction, I would say it's separate. Because we're not talking about his ability to destroy, we're talking about his ability to protect at that point. All right. Then go ahead, Charles, and continue. Don't forget to unmute. I
I'm
don't know
over
why
here
you muted
talking
at
like I'm
all.
unmuted. I was unmuted because mucus. I was coughing up a bunch of mucus. I didn't need you hearing that.
Ah,
Yeah, no, I didn't need
okay.
you hearing all that.
The
Yeah, no, I
phlegm
was talking as if
delacrum.
I was sorry about that. I got 4 and 5, and I got 6 and 7 for the sections before I get into it.
Nope. Mm-mm.
Because we got him. No, well, because we got him with the protection and the covering and giving strength. And we got also bring
Mm-hmm.
down the noise of the strangers as the heat in a dry place, even the heat with the shadow in the shadow with a shadow with the shadow of a cloud. The
Mm-hmm.
branch of the terrible one shall be brought low. No, so no, I shouldn't put those two together. So those are separate.
It's another technicality thing. Technically, they're connected, but they're not. In 4, we're talking about God's ability to protect the poor and the
Hmm.
needy, more specifically from the terrible ones. And in 5, we are talking about the terrible ones a little bit, but we're talking more so about bringing down the noise of the strangers. So, who are the strangers? Who does the Bible always relevance or reference to the strangers?
Whenever the Bible uses it, it's ever whoever's not a part of the children of Israel lineage, like just people from other nations.
Nope. Nope, not accurate. You're missing one vital piece of information that you didn't bring up. Thomas, who is the strangers?
I would have said the same thing as Charles.
All right. The part that you're missing is that live with the children of Israel. That's the part you're missing, Charles. There was a different term for people who were coming from other nations as a whole. But for the ones that were living with the children of Israel, they were called strangers. You see what I'm
Following
saying?
God's will, God's way. You mean those in this sense
Exactly.
when they're
They were the
living with
people
them?
who were
Yeah,
not part of the children of Israel's lineage, but they were living with the children of Israel. It
yeah.
didn't call the people that were from other nations that same word. It called them foreigners, it called them aliens, it called them different terms, but never strangers. Strangers was always, as far as we've read so far, it's always been relegated to the ones that are not part of the lineage of the children of Israel, but are living with the children of Israel. So go ahead and so then 4 and 5 would be split because as it goes into 5, it said it's about bringing their noise down as the heat in a dry place. Well, if you got heat in a dry place, or the even the heat with the shadow of a cloud, is that fully getting rid of the heat, Charles?
It's not fully because you brought in that cloud.
Exactly. But it is giving a little bit of covering. So we are still talking about the God protecting, right? We are still talking about that covering. But with the verse 5, unlike with verse 4, 4 describes God as being a refuge to them, of
Hmm.
being their strength. But in 5, it's talking about bringing down their noise. Well, what noise would be causing God, or what noise would the strangers be making if they're in the middle of heat?
That's the noise of dehydration. That's the noise of hunger. That's the noise of we need more coverings. We need water. We need some other stuff
Yeah,
going
so
on
what
here in
kind
the
of
heat.
what kind of noise is that? What are you doing if you're doing that?
Um, what do you mean? You what kind of what are you doing? Like begging?
No, not
You're
begging.
asking. You're. What do you mean?
If you're making a whole bunch of noise because it's hot in the area, what are you doing?
I guess I'm overthinking it.
Charles, I want you to stop for a second. I want you to visually think about this. Imagine anybody, I don't care what it is, anybody is visually standing outside in the middle of summer and is speaking about how hot it is. What are they doing?
Complaining
There you
about
go.
how hot it is.
Exactly. No, there you go. That's the answer. Complaining. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm writing it down too.
And I want you to do this from now on. Just as with Thomas, I have the tool of him thinking about the conversations with him and his son. What would be a situation where you do it? I want you to visualize a person saying the things that they're saying in these situations and what they would be doing. Like, go through the same process I just went with you, because that seems to work for you. That seems to make a big difference for you and your ability to understand.
Got it.
So, in a situation like in five, as the heat in a dry place, well, we're talking about heat, right? So, you would
Hmm.
visualize somebody making noise in the middle of heat. And God talking about how he's turning down the noise. Okay, what noise would you be making if you're standing in the middle of heat?
That's the complainer.
You see what I'm saying? So when you visualized it, the action actually taking place, you were able to understand it a lot better. So that might be a personal tool for you.
All right.
Visualize the action of a person actually doing it. All right, but go ahead. So that's why, yeah, four is one, five is a different one.
Let me go to 6.
Because you said two, right? You said four, five, and then six, seven, right?
I said 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right.
And this mountain shall the Lord of hosts make unto all people a feast of fat things, a feast of wines on the lees, of fat things full of marrow, of wines on the lees well refined. Before I get into all of that, we just got God feeding people on the mountain. A big feast
Mhm.
taking place.
Well, not just feeding
Then
them. If it's a feast, what kind of situation is that?
we're talking
Imagine a
about
bunch
like
of people at a feast.
bunch of people coming together like a party celebration kind of
There
thing.
you go. Party.
Next, verse 7. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. So this would have to be separate too. One is talking
Good.
about God's feast, the God's providing a feast, a party for everybody, and then another's talking about destroying a covering.
Good. So then how
Four
many sections
sections.
is it?
4 sections.
Exactly. So it's really no sections at all. It's just every verse is individually its own point.
Hmm.
All right. So now go ahead and explain.
So starting with verse 4, we brought up, well, here, I'll read it. For thou hast been a strength to the poor, a strength to the needy in his distress, a refuge from the storm, a shadow from the heat, when the blast of the terrible ones is as a storm against the wall. We brought up earlier God's ability to protect. He's given strength and protection, refuge from these
Good.
terrible ones.
Good.
Now, oh, verse 5. Thou shalt bring down the noise of the strangers as the heat in a dry place, even the heat with the shadow of a cloud. Before I continue, bringing down the noise of the strangers. And we talked about strangers being those that were that are in the land of the children of Israel, that are not originally children of Israel, that are following the rules and laws of the land and living with the children of Israel. Strangers like that. Their noise being the complaining. I had to visualize them complaining
Well,
in the
I
heat.
wouldn't add the part about following because we don't know if they're being faithful. We just know that they're there. There's been
We just
multiple
oh,
times where the
okay.
strangers became part of the problem, right?
There were problems. Okay, so just leave it as strangers are the ones living with the children of Israel. Then
No, because then you're not explaining that they're not part of their lineage. I would always explain strangers as this. Strangers are the ones that live with the children of Israel but are not related to the children of Israel by blood or relationship. You could say that in however many ways you could say that same statement. They're the ones that are not part of the lineage of the children of Israel but are still living with the children of Israel. That's another way to say the same thing. But in some way, shape, or form, you have to point out that the strangers are the ones that are they're living in the same location, but they're not part of the family of the children of Israel. They're not related to them.
they're not related. Okay, living with them but not related.
Exactly.
So with them, their noise in this heat, That noise would be like complaining in the heat because it's hot and all the other stuff that goes on in the heat. But it also talked about God having that shadow, that cloud over them. God still providing that shadow for them, that covering for them in this heat. God also brought up, well, it's also bringing up their noise of complaining is going to be brought down. They're not going to be complaining in the heat. But at the end of verse 5, the branch of the terrible one shall be brought low. Normally, when we talk about be brought low, aren't we talking about humbling? So now we got into the terrible ones being
Yep,
humbled and brought for whatever position they were at, they're brought lower than that. You're humbled from the position you were at.
exactly.
Sorry, I had to take a drink of some warm water.
No, you're
Um,
good. So visually speaking, we could look at it from the perspective of the strangers. You've been dealing with this problem from these terrible ones coming through, but you've been living with the children of Israel, and been, let's say you are the part of the ones that are trying to do right. You got these horrible people coming in, able to take over and do these things, and things are going on. You're complaining about the situation. I came here because I thought I was going to be good. I came here because I saw the strength of God, and I'm having to deal with all this. What's going on? Isn't your God the God above everything? Well, now you got quieted down because now those terrible ones, they are brought low already. Does that make sense?
I could imagine somebody doing that today.
Yeah, exactly. You gonna question my God? Come on, bro.
Make sure got that. Um, Now verse 6. And in this mountain shall the Lord of hosts make unto all people a feast of fat things, a feast of wines on the lees. The lees kept throwing me off. Let me look up what a lees is. Let me write this down too.
Mhm.
Lees. This is, I don't know if this is the first time we've seen this word. From
It's definitely
H80,
not Lee's liqueur, but it is similar.
yeah, 8104. Something preserved. That is the settlings, plural only, of wine. Oh, so what? We're just talking about preserved wine, preserved drink.
Exactly.
Let me write this down. Preserved strong drink.
Now, just a heads up before you finish, keep this in mind because it's something you should have caught, but I guarantee you haven't because we've had this discussion. There is a connecting point in your section that makes it more likely for something, but we'll see if you catch it.
Okay. And in this mountain shall the Lord of hosts make unto all the people a feast of fat things, a feast of wines on the lees, of fat things full of, well, marrow. That's another one I need to write down. What is marrow? Primitive root, properly to stroke or rub, by implication to erase, also to smooth, as if with oil, that is grease or make fat,
Yeah, marrow's the grease, the bone, the stuff on the bones, like
like
when
bone
you,
marrow, when people use
yeah,
bone marrow to cook.
yeah, exactly.
Let me write that down. Oh, so back to what we brought up earlier. This is a party. This is a feast. This is everybody coming together, eat and celebrate. Like the example you brought up, but way more
Good.
people.
Exactly.
Feast and drink and party and have a good old time on this
E-
mountain that God is talking
Exactly.
about on this particular mountain. Now now what you said earlier, which I
We'll
didn't
finish with seven
catch.
first.
Oh, finish 7. Verse 7, and he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. I wrote down veil a while ago. Wasn't veil the covering in the temple or in a like a church?
Well, it is the covering separating something. Women wear a veil on their bridal dress to cover their face. Once they're married and they're able to do the kiss, they remove the veil to kiss their wife.
So
It's a
verse 7
separating
says,
thing.
God is just talking. Verse 7 is talking about God destroy the veil that's covering one part from another. The not the veil, the covering. He's going to get rid of the covering, destroy the coverings that separates one part from another.
Well,
But
what does that mean though? If he's destroying the covering that's cast over all people, remember, like when you're, it's not a separation. That I was using that to prove to say a point. It's a covering disguises something. It hides something.
well, let me visualize. If I'm looking at over all the people, what else covers it other than you have what I'm going to bring up? You probably know what I'm going to bring up: sky, clouds, heaven, space. What else covers all the people? Um, those are the only
That's
things I'm thinking about as far as the coverings.
that's one part. That's literal. What about a metaphorical?
Metaphorical, would it be God's covering? How he was looking out, he was doing this, he was doing that, but
Charles,
not
before you say
anymore.
that, you didn't think that through at all. It said it's removing the face of the covering. What is your face? Metaphorically.
Who I am? I don't understand that
Yeah,
question,
yeah, who you
honestly.
are, like you're what
Oh,
you're showing yourself to be. Two-faced, what does that mean?
it's two faces, two people, two personalities,
There you go. I was just say we what do you mean two people? Yeah, two
two
personalities,
personalities.
two different sides of the same person. If you're also saying somebody is two-faced, what are you calling out about that person?
I'm calling out that there's you, you're like double sided. You have another personality. You're wishy washy. You're fake. You're
There you go. Yes. So, and he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all the people. So we've already discussed the different portions of what a face can represent. Could represent a hidden personality, hidden information. A veil hides the face of a woman. It also hides the place of the Holy of Holies. It's hidden information. And he's destroying the face of the covering. So what would it mean metaphorically? Because you got the literal, you just need the metaphor. You got it, Charles?
no, I don't.
All right, we're talking about people not knowing that he is God and not knowing the truth. All that's destroyed at this point in this mountain. Everybody understands. That's why when it points out that he's having a feast of fat things, and he said the host make unto how many people?
All people,
All people. So, and the covering that's cast over how many people?
all people.
So if all people are having the covering,
Hello.
does it matter if I'm atheist? Does it matter if I'm Alphabet Mafia? Does it matter if a
Could you
Jehovah's Witness? Does it matter if I'm Egyptian?
could you repeat that because it had cut out?
Does it matter which one it is? It doesn't matter if we're talking about Egyptian gods. It doesn't matter if we're talking about Vikings. It doesn't matter about Buddha. It doesn't matter about Alphabet Mafia. It doesn't matter about atheist. He's removing the covering. You can't pretend you don't know anymore. There's
In
no
other
more
words,
separation from the truth to your face.
writing that down.
Now, it is that Monday I told you guys about, so that's why I'm not giving more time on this. Remember, I said from that point, I got to start being more strict about it. So if you guys aren't figuring it out, I'm going to just start giving you how we figure it out. Still going to teach you how to realize it for yourself, but I'm going to start giving it like that. All right, so Charles, do you know what hidden connecting point is in your section that you may not get, but might?
No, I don't.
All right, Thomas, do you know what connecting point is in this section that might distinguish something?
No.
It's the fact that we're still talking about in this mountain. This is a specific statement, right? It's a very select mountain. What mountain have we read recently about, Charles or Thomas? Charles first and then Thomas second.
I'm thinking of Zion. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, and when did we read about Mount Zion?
It was chapters ago. I don't remember exactly which one.
No, it wasn't chapters ago, Charles. Thomas, when did we read about Mount Zion?
In my section,
Exactly, in Thomas's section. And what did we read about it in Mount Zion in your section, Thomas?
uh, sorry, how he's gonna shine bright like shine bright there.
Shine bright like a diamond. No, no.
Yeah.
Yes, we were talking about God reigning in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem. So from that we can tell, remember we said before we didn't have enough confirmation to say it. So, but now we can look at it as it's a 90% chance. So it's unless we see something pop up that strips away this and gives a new context, we are still talking about the end times. We're talking about the times just prior, at this moment, just prior to when the earth is done away with. About how the strangers who are living with them, they're not going to be able to complain anymore because they're able to see how everybody is destroyed or brought low. Also, the poor and needy, how God is a refuge for them. And how the strong are glorifying God because of both his ability to destroy and his ability to protect and save. So 25 is a continuation from 24. Does that make sense, Charles and Thomas?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, because it's still a little bit vague in the way it words it, can we say 100% sure that it is? No. We could say about 90%. We're dang near. Because what mountain is this mountain? But if we read in chapter 25 as we go to verse 8 and on, and it starts talking about a different mountain or something, then we have more context to say it's something different. But at this point, unless we see something that points out a difference there, we'd have to stick with the same. Contextually speaking, we're talking about God reigning over everything. This also goes into an interesting point, too, because in verse 5, the strangers' noise being brought low and them being covered. That matters for a very interesting point if we are talking about the end times here. Because when does God start reigning over the Mount Zion in Jerusalem? As we talked about in Revelation, that's after the new heaven and new earth are created. So, when it's a new heaven and new earth and God's sitting here reigning, but yet we still have strangers here. So this could be a depiction showing about the Gentiles who would end up accepting God, not just the children of Israel's lineage, who would also be along with them. Because they're complaining about the problems that are going on, but they see God take care of everything. So the problems are gone. So he shut down the noise from them. So it could be relevant to that, possibly. But that has less of a confirmation than the time frame that we are talking about. That's just a possibility. All right. Do you guys have anything else you want to add or say before we pray out the Bible study portion? Now would be the time to raise your hands. All right, then Thomas, go ahead and pray us out.
All right, if you guys go ahead and bow your heads with me. Father, we thank you for another study that was unfortunately postponed, but ultimately we got to it, we tackled it, and taking care of business. I want to give thanks to you for some things that stood out today, just in regards to everything that's taking place in the end times. And although we may have a possibility here, despite the whole possibility aspect of it, I want to see all my brothers and sisters there at that feast in Mount Zion, where you are able to reveal who you truly are to everyone and make it evident. But I want to be on the positive side of things. I want to be
not only for myself, but for my brothers and sisters to see, for us all to see that, and to live with you forever in eternity. And this is the road to it. Stand in your word, staying true to self and not conforming to anybody's else behavior or mindset. And just always coming to you for everything. For you keep us on the straight and narrow, and we're grateful to have a brotherhood like this to do the exact same thing. So we thank you in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Listening portion. We are in Second Chronicles. Let me get back to it. Did I do a typo? Okay. Oh, you know what, guys? Because we had the signal problems and everything, I didn't tell you guys last night's listening, did I?
First Chronicles chapter 23 to Second Chronicles chapter 7.
Nope, that was the day before yesterday.
I think what happened was because of this, because of the signal one, I think what we were supposed to do First Chronicle 23 to Second Chronicle 7 Saturday,
Yeah.
and then the one we're supposed to do today was supposed to be done
Yeah.
Sunday.
But we already did that yesterday too, so all right, so I guess we'll have today off. And tomorrow's, because we did yesterday's already for the explanations. So tomorrow, okay, so let's do this then. So Second Chronicles chapter 8 to chapter 20 will be tonight's Bible listening. But since because of that connection issue and everything going on, we weren't able to write down what yesterday's listening should have been. We'll just say for each of us what stuck out to us from the Bible study portion, like we do on worship service, and then we'll end it after that. Sound good, y'all?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Go ahead and go first. Charles, you'll go next, and I'll go last.
So what stood out to me, hold on. Jeez Louise. Oh, I got start getting sharp abdominal pains out of nowhere.
Well, that's not good.
Okay, so what stood out to me, let me go back to my notes. I found it pretty funny regarding to how you put it in relation to the moon. The moon's like, bruh, nighttime is my time of night. I should be the one shining. Just in the
It's supposed to be
aspect of,
dark right now, bro.
I thought that was pretty funny. But the whole sun and the moon thing.
I love the fact that, oh, actually, Charles, do you have anything you want to add on that one?
Nah.
All right, then all that is the fact that I thought it was hilarious that that's the comparison he used to explain how bright God is. It's like you got the moon is like you got the sun is ashamed because it's not as bright as God. So it's like, oh, I'm supposed to be the light. But then you got the moon is sitting here like, what the frick is going on?
That's hilarious.
That would be a great video, by the way.
It
You just
would.
have like God coming down, and then you got the moon is like an animated cartoon character, and the sun has like a sad face, like Eeyore from whatever that show is, Winnie the Pooh or whatever. And then you got the moon who's sitting here confused, like what's going on? What's going on? Like, but looking like Daffy Duck when he's angry.
Definitely.
Oh man, that would be hilarious. All right, Charles, what stuck out to you?
When we talked about in the end how everybody will know that it's God coming through. I wish not even I wish. It would I'm just visualizing in my head and I'm thinking to myself, there are some people I argued with. I only want to see their face. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There are some people like that. I don't mean like the people that are close to me or like family or friends or any of that. Like there are some people I've had like full blown arguments with, and I'm questioning myself. This started because I tried to preach something to you, and now we're having a full blown argument. I just want to see your face.
Mhm.
Because of that argument, because of all of that, that's what I'm thinking about in my head. That's what stood out to me. Is when you brought that up, I thought to myself, what is it? Are your jaw, is your jaw gonna drop? You know, is your nose gonna bleed? Like, what are you gonna do in that moment?
You know, when I think, actually, Thomas, do you have anything you want to add on that?
No.
All right. Then the only thing that I would add on that is like the sad part is when you really think about it, they're probably not even gonna be like just dumbfounded. They're gonna be so freaking out when they realize it, trying to get right with God.
Mhm.
But at that point, it's too late. You've had your entire life, and this is where like the whole people say, well, like what kind of loving God would send people to hell? What kind of loving God would sit by as you disrespect him for 50 years and not punish you? Like, think about that for a moment. Like, you had 50 years. Come on, bro. Get out my face.
One
Like,
loving God, one loving God would let Hitler go to heaven, and he never chose God. You sure you want him up there?
you see what I'm saying? Like, when I look at it, I'm like,
Would you agree with
really?
it?
And to think about it, it's like, do you know how many people you led to hell because you not only were unfaithful yourself, but you talked to other people about it? People don't realize this, and this let me say this, Charles, because on this state that you didn't realize this. I know this for a
No, I didn't.
fact. And Thomas,
You're
no,
right.
no, I haven't said what it is you haven't realized yet.
Oh,
And Thomas, I know for a fact you haven't realized this either. Here's the part none of you and no one has realized. Everybody's a preacher. Everybody's a preacher in the entire world. I don't care who you are. If you have the ability to communicate, you're a preacher. And I guarantee none of you would notice that. And you know how I know that everybody's a preacher, Charles? Because
go
if I
ahead.
spend time with you at all, you're going to tell me about how you live. And if you're telling me about how you live, you're preaching your lifestyle, whether you intend to or not. So every moment that you're living outside of God, your very lifestyle is preaching sin,
Yeah.
let alone your words and how you comfort yourself to other people. When somebody asks, how are you doing in life? And you say, oh, I'm doing great, and you're not following God, you're preaching to them that you can be okay without God. Everybody's a preacher. It's the same thing as I've said this before, and I know you didn't realize it till I said it too, Charles and Thomas, but every single person in the entire world is indoctrinated. I don't know if you
We've
guys
had
remember me
those
saying that.
conversations. We've had them
Hmm
conversations. Yeah,
I don't
that I
care
knew.
who you are, you're
That I already knew.
indoctrinated.
Yeah.
Because growing up, you're taught to believe something. And no family, no matter how good of parents they are, no family teaches a child 100% how to think for themselves. They always influence the child in one way or another, even if it's just by their lifestyle. If you're surrounded by nothing but negativity, what do you believe the world to be? Negative, most of the time. Unless you had some rejection of the people around you because they did something to make you reject them, then you reject the whole thing. But that's still an impact and indoctrination from the surrounding. We are built up by our environments. We are not born thinking a certain way. So everybody in the world is a preacher. Everybody in the world is an indoctrinated. Ooh, actually, you know what? Let me rephrase that. Everybody in the world is both a preacher and a disciple. You just don't know what you're disciplined in necessarily. That is a great way to put it. I'm not going to say indoctrinate, I'm going to say disciple. Everybody in the world is a preacher and a disciple. We just don't know everybody's religion or the we just don't know all the teachings. All right, Thomas, do you have anything else you want to add on that before I do mine? All right,
No.
good. All right, and Charles?
No.
All right. The part that it was the same section as you, Charles, about God showing uncovering it all, but it was for a different reason. It sticks out to me because people take a verse out of context. Does the Bible, I'm gonna see if you guys know the answer to this. Does the Bible actually say that every knee will bow and every tongue confess Christ? Thomas and then Charles.
Doesn't it say every knee shall bow? Yes. And every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord.
All right. Charles, does it say that?
I thought it did from remembers. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it did.
The actual truth is no. That's not what it says. The part that people say when it says about it is in Romans 14. That's where it says every knee will bow. In Romans 14:11, for it is written, as I liveth, saith the Lord, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue confess to God. But that's not where it says Christ. When we go to the one that actually says Christ, it's actually in Philippians. Oh wait, was it Philippians? Yeah, Philippians 2:10. And it says, starting in verse 9, wherefore God also hath highly exalted him and hath given him a name which is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, of the things of heaven and the things in the earth and the things under the earth. So we're literally combining two verses, one where it says that you'll bow to God. The other verse is saying that God exalted Jesus' name so that you would bow to him. But if I'm saying I exalted his name so that you will bow to him, does that mean that you necessarily will? No. It's just saying that that's the purpose behind it. But when we get to the part about God and Mount Zion and the covering being completely undone, when you take those three verses combined, it is saying that every knee will bow and confess Christ because it's saying the covering is going to be undone. There will be no mystery. In other words, everyone's going to understand what's happening. And so when you look at it from that perspective, keep that in mind. That's a purpose statement here. But that's about the bowing part. That doesn't necessarily mean that everybody will. And when we looked at what we read, at that time where it brought up about everybody being uncovered and understanding, it's after the destruction takes place. So this could be a relation to when God is rolling over after the destruction is established. You see what I'm saying, Charles and Thomas?
There we go. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Had to unmute.
Yeah. So it doesn't say that everybody will. It's saying that the purpose of his name being exalted is so that it would happen. That doesn't mean that it will. But everybody's going to be able to see the truth. So we'll see. And to think of it that way too, Charles, that kind of answers your question a little bit. If that's what that means, which it's a strong possibility based on that context, you can know what their face is going to be. They're not going to be in a state of shock. They're going to be in a state of, um, I'm sorry. Let me get right. Let me get right. God, please don't put me in the punishment, the hell punishment. Don't let me burn for eternity, please, God. I'll worship you. I'll follow you. I'll drop to my knees right now. See, I'm already on my knees. We see right now. I'm already good.
Didn't somebody tell me this before?
Oh, I don't know.
Didn't somebody tell me this before?
Oh yeah. Like, God, I know you've given me chances, but like you're here now and you've shown yourself and I'll follow you now. You had your entire life, all the information. You refused. That's gonna be a sad day.
Yes, it
But
is.
anyway, yeah. But anyways, Thomas, did you have anything you wanted to add to mine?
No, sir.
All right, Charles, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No.
All right, then I will go ahead and close this out.